Most families get rich by playing the system well. The Rothschilds did something far more dangerous. They helped build the system itself. By the time their name became synonymous with power, Europe was already fighting wars it could no longer afford. Kings needed money faster than taxes could provide it. Empires were expanding, armies were growing, and warfare had become an industrial operation. The problem wasn't ambition, it was financing, and that problem created the Rothschilds. The story begins in the late 18th century, not in a palace, but in a cramped Frankfurt ghetto. Mayor Amschel Rothschild wasn't born into nobility, he was born into constraint. Jews were barred from land ownership, guilds, and most professions. Money, however, was one of the few arenas they were allowed to operate in. Mayer understood something early. Power follows liquidity. He began as a coin dealer, trading rare currencies for aristocrats. Coins weren't just collectibles, they were information. Each carried signals about trust, stability, and political strength. Mayer learned to read those signals before most rulers could. But his real innovation wasn't money itself, it was structure. Instead of building a single banking house, Mayer sent his 5 sons to Europe's most powerful capitals, London, Paris, Vienna, Naples, and Frankfurt. Each operated independently, but all were bound by blood, trust, and constant communication. This was revolutionary. At a time when information traveled at the speed of horses, the Rothschilds built a private intelligence network. Couriers, coded letters, and trusted agents moved faster than governments. They didn't just know where money was, they knew where power was shifting next. Then came the wars. The Napoleonic Wars shattered Europe's finances. Britain needed gold to pay armies on the continent. Austria and Prussia needed subsidies. France needed credit to keep fighting. Everyone needed money now, not after tax collection. The Rothschilds solved problems states couldn't. They moved gold across borders during wartime. They converted currencies at scale. They financed allies without waiting for parliamentary approval. Governments didn't just borrow from them, they relied on them. This is where the myth begins. The famous story claims the Rothschilds made their fortune by learning of Napoleon's defeat at Waterloo before anyone else. The truth is less dramatic and more important. Their power didn't come from one trade. It came from being indispensable before, during, and after the war. They didn't bet on battles, they financed outcomes. After Napoleon fell, Europe didn't enter peace, it entered debt reconstruction. Countries were bankrupt, borders were redrawn, currencies were unstable. The Rothschilds stepped into the vacuum. They underwrote government bonds, they stabilized currencies, they managed reparations, they dictated terms. Quietly. By the mid-1800s, no major European power could raise large-scale financing without Rothschild participation. Kings sat on thrones, but their budgets depended on private bankers. And here's the critical shift. Before the Rothschilds, finance was local. Banks served cities. After them, finance became international. Capital moved across borders faster than armies. Credit decisions in London affected grain prices in Vienna and tax policy in Paris. They didn't control governments, they controlled constraints. A king could declare war, but only if someone financed it. A railway could be built, but only if bonds could be sold. An empire could expand, but only if interest payments could be met. That's real power. The Rothschilds also mastered something most rulers never did: risk insulation. By spreading assets across countries, currencies, and political systems, they made confiscation nearly impossible. If one regime fell, another branch survived. If one currency collapsed, another compensated. They weren't loyal to flags, they were loyal to continuity. This made them both powerful and hated. Populists accused them of manipulation, nationalists blamed them for crises, conspiracy theories flourished. But behind the myths lies a simpler truth. The Rothschilds thrived because they understood how systems work when they scale. They didn't create greed, they organized it. They didn't invent debt, They standardized it. They didn't rule nations, they financed the machinery that ruled them. By the late 19th century, states began copying their methods. Central banks expanded, public debt markets professionalized, governments learned to borrow long-term, manage currencies, and centralize control. The system modern finance rests on today, sovereign debt, global capital flows, financial intermediaries, looks suspiciously like a world the Rothschilds helped prototype. And here's the uncomfortable lesson. The most powerful players in history weren't always emperors or generals. Often they were the ones who decided who got funded and who didn't, who survived crises, who collapsed quietly. That dynamic hasn't changed. The names are different, the tools are digital, but the logic is identical. Those who understand the system don't just survive it, they shape it. The Rothschilds didn't just get rich, they built the financial architecture modern power still depends on. And once you see that, history stops looking like chaos and starts looking like design. If this gave you a new perspective, hit subscribe. History has the answers. I'll show you where to look.